King P here,
And Steely07.
and welcome to another episode of This Week in Metropolis.
In this week's episode, we speak to Chris and Ian, the owners of well-loved Norfolk American Diner Zaks. They tell us what makes their burgers so great and how they use the local community to help them with ideas for their recipes.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome you to This Week in Metropolis.
Well, as we just said, Chris and Ian, thank you very much for joining us on This Week in Metropolis. You're the owners of a well-loved food chain in Norwich called Zaks.
Especially loved by us.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, especially loved by us.
Yes, very much so.
Tell us a little bit about yourselves and how you got into the industry.
Well, I've been in the industry, 25 plus, I keep forgetting how old I am, but I'm old now. But at least 25, maybe even 26, 27 years now. I actually started out, I worked in theatre, but I also always had a part-time job. I've worked in bars or restaurants. That was my sort of bit in between doing bits. I was sort of like backstage in theatre, like lighting and sound and things like that. But I'd always had another job, always worked in restaurant and bars. Didn't want to move to London. I'm from Manchester originally, so that's why Manchester. Kind of all the work was in London. I thought, well, actually, I love working in restaurants and bars. I'm actually going to make a career of that. And then went into sort of managing restaurants like in my early 20s. Carried on that and that's what I've been doing ever since, really. We'll talk about the Zaks bit, how we got into Zaks later on. But yeah, that's me. I've been kind of that most of my life now. So
yeah, no, I'm actually an accountant originally.
Yeah, nobody holds that against you too much.
No, I'm not a typical accountant. And I was CEO of Blue Sky Leisure, which used to own Zaks, so that was my association with Zaks. And so I've never really pulled a pint, cooked a burger, other than at home. I mean, I've never really been operational in the business. I used to do what we call back to the floor shifts, but they were just to the floor shifts because I've never been there in the first place. But that's my experience of catering.
You did a bit of pot wash a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And he didn't realise there was actually a machine that did it at the side of him, and he was actually washing them all by hand. It was quite amusing.
That was deliberate to show the team that I had put in the effort.
I was going to say, did you ever imagine running your own business like you are now?
I've always wanted to. I've always used the adage. I've always worked for other people, making them money, and never then come out with much for myself. So, but it's always different when you own a business because you actually don't make money in a business, in a hospitality business. But yeah, I've always dreamed of doing it because politics more than anything. The fact that me and Ian are good friends and we own a business that is well loved, and we love the team that we work with as well. Now our board meetings are like over breakfast at Waterside. Just the two of us, and we can make a decision. Or if we want to do something, we just pick up the phone to each other and go, "What do you reckon to this?" We don't have to go through a board meeting. And then it was owned by, because I previously worked in Zaks for 10 years as well. So Ian recruited me in 2005 to work for Blue Sky Leisure to run Zaks.
Yeah.
So but that was obviously it's still a family business, but it was a large family business. So you still had like many layers to go through. Now it's just us and the team. So it's that realization that actually, if we want to do something, actually we just need a conversation. And yeah, we don't always agree on everything, but we talk it out and we go, well, let's do it, let's try it. And that for me is just being a real breath of fresh air and freedom, albeit in a very challenging first year owning my own business alongside my business partner.
I imagine.
But to some extent, I've been there before with owning businesses. Before I joined Blue Sky Leisure as CEO, I'd owned an oil and gas business with my brother, which we sold. And since I left Blue Sky Leisure, I've had another business, a boutique wellbeing and sort of energy optimization consultancy, which is sort of digitally delivered, which runs alongside Zaks still now. So so I'm kind of used to it, but I don't think I could work for anybody anymore now. I'm too institutionalized as an entrepreneur, to be honest.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, it's it's been a very challenging year, but it's also been a very enjoyable and a very tiring and a very emotional year as well. So, but I mean, yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way now.
Was there sort of taking over a business such as Zaks, which, as I said, me and James are very aware of, sort of Zaks as a brand, and certainly me and James as well followed a similar path, isn't it? We grew up in Essex, met a girl from Norfolk, moved to Norfolk, and I remember sort of, first coming to Norfolk and the Norwich area and saying, "Oh, you've got to go to Zaks. It's amazing. They got the best burgers." And that is a common thread. Whoever you speak to, it's a brand that everyone loves and has been to and knows and or has a story associated with it. Was that a responsibility that you were sort of aware of?
Huge responsibility. We don't actually call ourselves owners, really. We've not got we're not like the director, managing director or anything like that. We actually call ourselves custodians. Yeah. Because hopefully Zaks will continue after our custodianship. It's been going for, Zaks started in 76. I was born in 76. Yeah. So it's been going 44 years. This is just our period of where we're the custodians. We're looking after that brand and making sure it's secure for the future. And hopefully somebody else that loves the brand as much as we do will take it on after we've had our time and continue its journey into the future. So, but yeah, it's a huge responsibility. Mm.
Yeah. Were there things that you thought, right, I'm taking this over and this is, a big deal in that sense, but were there any things like a checklist of things that you had of, we want to address these areas or we want to sort of add or change to these things?
Yeah, we had a period of due diligence, and I think obviously we both know the brand really well, and
I'm just going to turn this traffic light
pretty much.
The traffic light keeps flashing.
We've got some really great systems and procedures here. We're not too procedurally driven, but we've got Chris and I built the brand to expand for franchise before we both left, and that didn't happen because the company decided to do other things. We built this great system where we're first in class at a lot of things like food safety and health and safety and customer service in terms of the way we do things. So we knew that was all there somewhere, but that got a little bit lost along the way, and some layers had been put on top of that. So we knew it had become a little bit over bureaucratic, so we knew that was an issue we needed to address. We could see from a customer perspective that things had gone a little bit wrong with the customer experience, particularly around the menu. There have been some big menu changes that were delivered, and they weren't hitting the mark with the customers. And with the power of social media, our business plan was written down already, because it was just like all of these customers asking us to put it back how it was, basically. Mm. So that was laid out. We knew the team needed to just be reinvigorated, re-energized. I
think the major
diligent period, we had this hit list of things that we needed to do day one. And the first thing we done day one was ask the team what they thought we needed to change, actually. Yeah. Sent a questionnaire out to every team member day one and said, what's broken, what needs fixing.
I think what had happened, which actually now, which allowed us to actually be in the position we're in now, so we don't harp too much on about the past, but I think the communication had broken down between both team and customers, and Zaks had stopped listening to its customers and had stopped listening to its team. So the first thing we did, and if you go back over our social feed, not only did we ask the team, we actually put it out there and go, right, we're here, we're listening, what do you want us to do? And we actually coined the hashtag #YourZaks in those first few weeks, because it's not, as much as it's ours on paper, it's Norwich's and Portland's. So that we did have our own hit list, but then that was almost ripped up a couple of days later and a new one was rewritten, including some of that stuff, because we asked people what they wanted. And then Mark Zuckerberg, Ian coined this phrase that Mark Zuckerberg used to say, move fast and break things, when he was sort of disruptive in the social media world. Well, we actually changed it. It's like we wanted to move fast and fix things. Yeah. So things that we could do quite easily, like they changed the burger recipe, the actual patty. We changed it back to Zaks' original recipe within the first couple of weeks.
Well, the only delay on that was the amount of stock we had.
Yeah, so it was they're taking Budweiser out on draft. Everybody loves the Zaks burger and a pint of Bud. So we got Budweiser back through the door as soon as we could. Little details like that. The chips, the change to kind of a posh skin on fry, which people didn't want. They didn't like it. They didn't want it. So
it's all about curly fries at Zaks.
They were more expensive, as was the new burger recipe. So all the changes that we made for the customer reasons actually also, made us more robust financially as well, and helped us as we went into this awful pandemic. And we'd already started to cut a cloth.
And it didn't taste as good either.
No.
That's a good point, actually, that you mentioned the pandemic there as well. How have you managed to adapt? I mean, I know you do deliveries. I've actually been a couple of times to get deliveries since you've changed that way. Was that a big thing that you had to kind of change around and work out how you were going to facilitate it?
It was, but I think, because we were back and not new to the brand because we knew it before, but we were new in post, as it were, and everything was in a period of change and disruption. I think it was I'm not saying it wasn't difficult, because we went through a very difficult time, the team went through a difficult time, but we were able to roll the punches a little bit more, because we were all up for change anyway, and this was just a different type of change. In fact, Chris used that time. We were going to launch the new menu, which is kind of, as you've probably seen, is the old menu. It kind of took it back to where it was, but then added a few new different twists and dishes on it. That was going to be launched for Easter. Well, obviously, we didn't have an Easter from a trade perspective. But we actually used that time to engage with the customers on social media about what that menu looked like. And we continued to live it. When we did restart the takeaway service, it wasn't on the new menu, was it? It was still sort of
it was on a new burger.
It was on a new burger, but it wasn't the full list. So we're able to use that time to sort of really get the engagement up. So when the new menu came and we did reopen the doors, people could see the full new menu. They were really excited about it. And ready for coming in and having a Zaks burger. Yeah,
we actually added 3,000 followers on Facebook during the first lockdown and about 2,000 followers on Insta. We wanted to keep the engagement up. We genuinely felt that if we just shut our doors and then opened them again, then people... I think the businesses that have done well coming out of those lockdowns are the ones that stayed engaged. We want to absolutely stay engaged with the customers. So we were doing weekly, daily, hourly posts at some points, and the same with our team. We were live in Facebook to the team every week, and we had like loads of quizzes and all those typical lockdown things that lots of people did. But me and Ian actually went live in the group every week to update everybody, both personally on what the restrictions meant and just check in with everybody, see how they were. And we got sort of regular, sort of really high attendance of all the team logging into that live and joining in with it, which was great. But yeah, it's been exhausting. It's been absolutely exhausting this year because there's lots of things we wanted to do anyway. But we went from having a 3 to 5 year strategic plan to having what we're doing the next 2 weeks. Kind of thing. So it was kind of, we kind of ripped up all our plans that we'd spent like weeks doing before we took over the business. They're kind of all gone. I've not even looked at them for months. And we did a big list up on a wall. Right. This is now, this is tomorrow, this is next week. And then that was rubbed out and then rewritten on and done. And we actually did a lot of things we weren't planning on doing for 2 or 3 years during lockdown. Got our paintbrushes out, got our things, changed restaurants around, refurbished them. And
you say we ripped up the plan, but we pretty much delivered 90% of it in that period.
It just accepted. Well, that's what a lot of people have said with a lot of things in the past year or past 6 months or so. It's accelerated sort of certain things, just out of necessity more than anything.
Some things have got bigger that were in the plan. They got a bit delayed, but now they're coming. They're getting bigger. So, for instance, we successfully we got the bounce back loan that you're entitled to, to help with support. But from a cash flow perspective, on a daily basis, we didn't need it. So we thought we'd need that for invest in the future of the brand. So we then matched that up against an ALEP grant, New Anglia LEP grant. So we got £41,000 grant to go completely mobile. You guys won't remember this from the history because A, you're too young, and B, you're from Essex. But it started as a caravan, and people who are a little bit older than me I'm early 50s. People that are a little bit older than me just have got so much of a connection to that. You know, they kind of met their partner there. They had their late night drinks there. They used to turn up with their car meets or their American cars. Or
people were conceived in car parks there.
You know, that's a real nostalgic connection back to the history of the brand. But also, it's a great COVID-proof kind of future-proof system, isn't it? Because if events come back on stream, those two caravans and things around it are going to get really used. If that doesn't come back on stream, we can pop up anywhere we like and Zaks to the people anywhere. You know, you do that whole street food viral experience.
Yeah, and we've had a lot. People used to meet up and show off their cars there, their American cars and their vans and their trucks and all their modern stuff. So we want to sort of bring that vibe back as well, and actually pop up in car parks at night and have the car park full of really cool cars and people having a beer and a burger and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's what we want to get to next year with that as well.
My father-in-law has actually told me about when he grew up and used to go to the caravans to get a burger, and he still gets now the big one, all foil wrapped, because it reminds him of back in the day having his burgers foil wrapped and so forth. He's raved about it. But one of the things that, to wrap up on the COVID side of it, is what ideas and things have you implemented during lockdown that you'll carry through afterwards? Do you think you'll carry on doing the takeaways and stuff?
Well, Zaks has always done takeaway, but it's obviously not been as prolific because obviously we had dining. Our dining customers are always the priority, and we'll do a takeaway if we can. Obviously, we are doing more takeaways now than ever as well. Then we're open with dining, but yeah, we will absolutely continue doing takeaway. I think definitely some of the ideas that have been born out of lockdown. We were only going to bring one caravan back, but now bringing two. So we're actually going to have two on the road. And that is one thing that, we're doing that to sort of diversify as well. But that's going to continue, and we might add even more to it if it's successful. We've also just launched merch. So we've just launched Zaks merch as well, which probably if we hadn't been in lockdown, we wouldn't have done. But again, it's another, because obviously all our revenue streams are just squashed. So normally Saturday night at Boringland would be 250 people. The most we can really do at the moment is around about 110, 115, 120, with all the tables spacing out and all those. So we've sort of really looked at, where can we get that extra bit of money that will pay for something to be employed next month, potentially? Or pay that extra bill, put that towards the electricity bill. So we've literally just launched merch as well, which will continue out the other side of that. So it's just another way, and online gift voucher purchases. So you can get your gift vouchers from there now, rather than having to come to the restaurant and buy them and do it. So those things that have moved online a little bit, will definitely be continuing outside the other side as well. So
and we took the opportunity to upgrade all our till infrastructure behind the scenes, which enables us to really build on what our digital offer is in the future. The system that we've implemented is from the same supplier, the same supplier we've had for a long time, but that means that we've got now the API to be able to connect to whatever different systems in the future we want to connect to for digital strategy, whether that's a delivery partner or that's the boring.
More exciting stuff is wing source. We've got a new wing source.
But that doesn't enable us to react properly and quickly and dynamically in the future to say if we wanted to have a delivery. We did consider a delivery partner. We signed up with one pre-lockdown, didn't we?
Yeah.
But when we decided against it.
Well, when they wanted to take 30% of the sale, then
I bet they did.
We're going to try and do this ourselves.
Yeah, definitely. But I think that's the thing that I've noticed just on a personal level. I live in North Walsham in Norfolk, and I have a fish and chip shop down the road, which is my favourite fish and chip shop. They were very, very quick as soon as everything started sort of going as it has to implement an online ordering system, and you open up the website and you add to basket and you select what time you're collecting it, and it is seamless. It is fantastic. And those sort of things make a difference, don't they? It is sort of a little change. I don't know how big a change it was for them, but usually they would have had telephone orders and the phone would be ringing constantly and so on. But now they've got control of that situation, and they're they still have the queues and the business that they would normally, which is it makes life easier for everyone, really, doesn't it?
You use the takeaway service. When we're in full lockdown, you book as if you're booking a table. You book your takeaway slot to turn up, then we call you, get your order, and then you turn up at your slot and it's there, good to go for you. So we repurposed our table booking system. Instead of paying a third party a fortune to process the orders for us, we just repurposed the system and managed to use that. So we weren't giving away a massive portion, which would have left us nothing. Essentially out of that sale.
That was an interesting innovation conversation, really, that happened in one of them Saturday morning board meetings. It wasn't that was probably a phone call one, because I think we'd shut by then. But I said to Chris, kind of like, surely Open Table, the way it works, can deliver a takeaway experience, because basically we want to do the same. We want to control the amount of people that come through the door at certain times of the day, and that's exactly what it does. And Chris said, leave it with me, I'll do some investigation. Well, our account manager said, leave it with me, I'll do some investigation. And she came back and said, there's one restaurant doing that in North America. Let's see if we can set it up for you as well. So we were like the second restaurant in the world to think, let's repurpose Open Table, a national platform or an international platform for booking tables into booking takeaways. And that made it, and we didn't get that, the problem with a lot of the people that have got the delivery partners is the delivery partners don't let, that's either off or on. So you can be busy service when you're open and get 300 takeaway orders come through the door. Until you turn the machine off, they'll just keep spelling out the printer.
We still wanted to deliver that Zaks experience as well. We wanted to do the phone call. We wanted to ask you if you wanted it cooked this way or that way, rather than it being sort of just ordering. You booked your slot, and then we got in touch with you, and you still had that engagement with us as well, which we wanted.
But we didn't want you to be stuck on the phone with it ringing off the hook.
Yeah, trying to ring it.
As you raise a good point there, Chris, actually, with regards to the Zaks experience, because going into the restaurants, the food itself, all of that plays a huge part when you're visiting Zaks. Do you think what do you think is more important, or is it the whole experience?
It's
everything.
It's the whole thing. You've got to have every element right. So you can have your food right, but your atmosphere can be out. You can have the wrong music play. It's down to I've spent sort of during lockdown. I think I spent a total of about 6 solid days redoing all the playlists. Literally, sort of 6-7 hours a day, just getting the right tracks, putting together a lunch, breakfast playlist, weekend, evening playlists, all those. So even just getting the music right. So like lunch at the moment, we've got a bit of Prince Purple Rain playing in the background, but that wouldn't be appropriate for Saturday night because it'd send you to sleep. So yeah, and then down to the lighting as well, and making sure that it feels cozy. I always describe Zaks as like putting on your favourite. Everybody's got a favourite pair of joggers or jumpers when you get in, but I think most people have been living in them for the last few months, haven't they, on lockdown? But when you are out about, you come back, you put that jumper on, you sit down, and you feel like you're at home. That's what it should feel like at Zaks, and then you should get that lovely, friendly, relaxed service that ticks all the boxes from what you want from service, but it's not formal. You don't feel uncomfortable. You can be sat next to somebody that's just finished work, they're in the work clothes, or somebody that's come out for a party night and they're all dressed up to the nines. Everybody should feel sort of comfortable at Zaks, and it's creating that environment. And then, obviously, the food's got to be delivered on that as well. So you've set the scene, you've got the right environment, and the food absolutely has to... You should always get a reaction when you put Zaks food down. If you haven't, we've got it wrong. I think that's what had happened with a little bit with the last menu that was in place that we then sort of changed. The team weren't proud to put it down, so it was always a bit tentative, and then the customer reactions weren't great as well. I like to think that now we've nailed it again, and when we put a plate of food down and someone, you get either like a very slight visible reaction, or sometimes people go, some people get the cameras out straight away. And obviously when they get stuck in as well, it's watching those faces around the restaurant, and it should be filled with that sort of happy, content, really relaxed looking people, including the team. So,
are there any menu options that you sort of really, really want to add, but it's a little bit out there and you think, I'd really like to do that, but is that just a bit pushing it in the envelope too much?
I don't know if you've seen, I use social media a lot. So, right, thinking about this, what do you reckon? Like, the freaking festive frickle burger that's out now.
Oh, that looks incredible, absolutely incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, no, we got that out there, and now everybody was like, oh, obviously, some people I put sick faces, but they were in a very small minority. So social media is a really good test for an idea. We launched Screaming Monkey sauce yesterday as well.
Yeah.
I'm about to have,
which is a hot sort of peanut sauce.
Sounds fantastic.
That was literally last week. We were just sticking loads of things in a bowl, going, oh, if we had some of that, what will that taste like? And we came up with it and went.
I think going back to your question, I think it's really easy for Chris to do that and get a great reaction, particularly from our younger fan base.
Sure.
As we develop sort of, because Zaks has always been intergenerational, and, we've got clearly a younger fan base as well as that older fan base. We talk about like your father-in-law. What we can't do is what they did with the previous menu, is take things off.
Yeah.
Some of the old favourites. We do take some of the old favourites off. And if you're not selling any of them, if Auntie Maud's the only person that has it once 3 times a year, we can't put it on the menu.
No.
Like for a cocktail or something.
Well, I took the blue vein off.
Take the blue vein off. Well, for a start, that was my wife's favourite. So, but that's a really good story about innovation. My wife's favourite for years have been the blue vein. She's like, "You're putting that back on, aren't you?" I said, "Well,
yeah,
I know you've got a voice, but we're putting it back on anyway, honey."
Yeah.
All because of you, but. Then we bought the PB burger out, and that's now her favourite. So she's not even eaten the blue vein that was her favourite for years. But loads of customers, and including my wife, were saying, "Where's the blue vein? Where's the blue vein? Blue vein?" It was a stock classic Zaks burger.
Yeah, that's never going anywhere. That's. So yeah, but we brought in with the new menu. We brought in the PB, and we brought in frickles. We brought in cheesy churros, which are all quite innovative stuff that no one else in the area is kind of doing, and they sold really well alongside those old classic favourites.
I've heard this before, but when you're working in a particular restaurant or food chain, you tend to not enjoy the food as much because you're there and around it all the time, and you if anything, you get sick of it. This probably applies more to big kind of commercial chains, but with you guys, are there different burger restaurants outside of Zaks that are particular favourites of yours that you take inspiration from or ideas from?
One of my favourites is Patty and Bun in London. The original Patty and Bun, just off Oxford Street. That is one of those burgers that you get possessive of. This is why I always try to make it this is how I describe the PB now. It's one that you pick up and you start, and you never put it down until it's finished. And then you sort of like start protecting it and want to eat it. So yeah, Patty and Bun is awesome.
We years ago when we were looking at the franchise options, we went and all around all the sort of when burger joints were really having that big boom a few years ago. We went and looked at all around those. But
do you know what? I've got a confession to make as well. Because Zaks burgers are so good and they're really good. I sometimes get a craving, because I live in Galston, I get a craving for a proper, dirty seafront burger. Like, literally out of a tin can and put on the grill for a few seconds with some really soggy onion, bit of burger sauce on there, a bit of ketchup. And occasionally I will get a craving for a proper, dirty seaside burger, like £2.50.
From a van or something like that.
The dirtiest little shack you can find on the sea.
I know what you mean. I love those. I think, but
pleasure.
That's more of a nostalgic thing, though. I think it's it reminds me of many a night coming out of a club at whatever o'clock in the morning, and there's a van or something and having them.
Which is back to the original story of how Zaks started.
Yeah, that's it exactly, and people still remember that, don't they? It takes them back.
Norwich still is some really good, great local businesses. I mean, when I first moved to Norwich 2006, there wasn't any chains, and kind of chains have come in now, but they've not come in and done as well as they thought they have, and some of them have shut down. But I mean, there's some absolutely great places. I mean, Shiki, the Japanese restaurant on Tombland, that's an amazing place. One of my favourite spots to go just for like a little bit of lunch in there. The curry in there is amazing. And we've got like real sort of staunch places like the Assembly House and stuff like that. Their afternoon tea is to absolutely die for. there is some just great local businesses.
Do you take ideas from them when you, like you say, there's really nice curry houses? Do you go to them and think, oh, this could work in a burger? Is that how you kind of come up with your ideas?
Yeah, you'd never really shut off with that. I mean, that was the whole thing with the Screaming Monkey sauce. Originally, I started out making a satay, and I sort of had my coconut milk and my peanut, and I made all that. And I just tasted it on the wings. I said, "No, this isn't Zaks." So I went, right, what? So then I asked the question, what if Zaks did their own nut sauce? What would it be like? And it would be hot, it would be sweet, and it would be spicy, and it won't have any coconut in it. And that's sort of went, so I made it that way round. And then that was like, no, that's a Zaks nutty sauce. So yeah, you definitely get inspiration from loads of places. And it's just asking yourself, right, if Zaks did this, what would it look like? So you just got to put that question in front of it and then see if it works.
And are you always at hands-on with the execution of it, sort of, in the kitchen thinking, right, I'll stick that in, I'll put that in, and
yeah, absolutely.
That's the process.
I think the chefs think I'm a bit crazy sometimes. I'll literally just wander into the kitchen and stuff out of the fridges and cooking stuff and things like that, and then I'll get them to join in with me and stuff. So yeah, real collaborative, and then they'll try it, and then I'll go, what if you put this in it? And all right, so yeah, real collaborative process for the team. The team come up with loads of ideas as well. So, what's
the long-term plan? Where do you see Zaks in 5-10 years?
Hopefully still here. Hopefully we'll be
I'm sure it will be.
I say we've only been looking short term, but never have we thought that we won't be here in 5 years. So the question is when this whole COVID thing settles, we'll probably get our heads together and go, right, okay, well, what does the next 2-3 years? Where are we now? What's our position? How strong is that? What do we want to do? And you know what? Then probably we'll ask our customers again and the team and go, right, what do you want to see from Zaks in the future as well?
And obviously we've got these mobile units to. There's a business plan there. There's another business plan off the back of that. One of the part of that grant is to what we're going to also buy as part of that project is a containerized restaurant dining area. So a shipping container with drop down sides, possibly with a rooftop terrace, but that might not be phase one. That might be phase two. That we can drop ship to a location, sit it alongside the bigger one of the two trailers, and then we've got a full service restaurant. Amazing. Now that gives us an opportunity to test a business model. And I said to Chris, I'm a keen cyclist, and I was out on a bike ride, and I just biked back. I live at Galston Way, and I was biking through Lowestoft and passed like 3 different Starbucks type operations, Costas, drop shipped into car parks, and I'm like, hell, we could do that, we could do that at a reasonable cost. Drop ship a full restaurant, not with a movable kitchen, but actually drop ship 2 containers that's got a kitchen and a restaurant. And there's a potential business model there that could see us expand our number of outlets quite rapidly, quite cheaply. Now we don't know whether that's going to work or not, so we're going to play with this one we've got and see what that looks like. But actually, there's an opportunity to actually get loads more Zaks, even in Norfolk, let alone anywhere else, with very little capital expenditure.
I think when we asked that question of our customers a few years ago when we were last involved in the business, I think it was when it was the 40th anniversary year. I think my favourite one was a little girl drew a picture of a Zaks on the moon. Elon Musk, he wants to get up there, doesn't he?
I think it would cost quite a lot to get a shipping container to the moon, wouldn't it?
That was brilliant.
Anything is possible.
She's done it really detailed as well and labelled it all and everything. But yeah, that was great.
Love it.
Just be careful, don't catch fire on re-entry, eh?
Well, thank you both for joining us today. I really appreciate you taking the time. Where can people find you online on social media?
We've got our Zaks Authentic American Diners on Facebook. We've got our Zaks American Diners Insta. We're playing with TikTok at the moment, so you might actually see us on there soon as well. And we're also on Twitter, but not so much. That's at Zaks Norwich, or our website, which is www.zaks.uk.com.
Well, Chris and Ian, thank you very much for joining us.
No worries. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that as much as we did. Don't forget, if you did enjoy it, please like, subscribe on whatever platform you're watching and listening on, because in that way you won't miss out on any future episodes we put out.
Yeah, and don't forget to follow us on all social media platforms as well. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and give us a follow, and you'll be able to keep up to date with all of the latest episodes and posts that we put out there. But thank you for listening and watching.
And we'll see you next episode.